Subject of this video is using custom fields to add lease tracking. Custom fields are a part of the asset tool. An asset tool is new in version SiteAudit 7 and hosted 7. So what we'll do in this video is we'll give an actual application of using custom fields, and the application is lease tracking. So lease tracking allows you to track leases by expiration, to see who the leaseor is, when the buyout may occur. And so you'll use custom fields in order to add the data necessary to track leases. And so what we'll do is we'll create a series of 5 custom fields, and then we'll add some additional fields that SiteAudit has, such as the serial number, model, department. We'll take that as a report and schedule it so you get it once a month. It shows you everything you need to know about your leases. So let's take a look at this, how you would set that up in SiteAudit. So here's SiteAudit, and as I mentioned in version 7 of SiteAudit, there's a new capability built in called the Asset Tool. So we'll go to Tools and launch the Asset Tool. The Asset Tool has a number of menu items. One of those is the ability to export and import information. We'll come back to that in just a minute. You could also import organization structures and discovery. And of course, you can create custom fields, and that's what we're going to do next. So for the lease application, what we're going to do is we're going to add some additional columns here. As I mentioned, there we have a total of 5, and some of those will be string, some will be integers, and some will be based on a date. And I've already created 3 columns so far: the expiration date, the duration of the lease, and the lease company. So let's add now one called the lease buyout. So we'll add that here. And the category we're using so we can group this is called the lease agreement. And that'll help us look at this as a total tracking project here. So we'll add the lease buyout, and then we'll add the lease contract. Lease contract is a string. So here we'll use lease contact, and again we'll use lease agreement as a category. And so we'll now have created our 5 new columns. So there are a total of 1 date. We've got 2 string columns and 2 integers. Custom fields are allowed to do up to 15 custom fields. 6 of those can be string fields, 6 can be integers, and 3 can be dates. Close that now, and we'll close the asset tool as well, and we'll see if those columns have shown up here. So I'll go to the column chooser, which you can access by right-clicking any column head and then going to the column chooser, and we can see down here we've got the new columns. So it's lease buyout, lease company, lease contact, duration, expiration. So those are the new columns we've added into the view. You know that there's a couple ways now you can add data. One is you can go to the details tab for each printer. When you do that, what you'll find is that there's a new tab called custom fields. And we've organized this in a category called lease agreement. So it's possible if you wanted to just do this manually per device, you could simply add this information for each column here, each value. You could do that manually. So that's one way you could do it. And if you had just a few devices you wanted to add lease information for, that might be the best way to do it. The other way to do it is to do an import of the data. So to do that, what you'll do is you go back up to Tools. We'll launch the Asset tool again. And as I mentioned, the Asset Data menu allows us to export and import data. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to export data. And we'll take a look at that, and that'll contain a CSV file. There'll be asset information there. And then we can go ahead and add the lease information we want to in a much easier and larger format. So this is the standard export. Uh, and when the export is has most of the information about inventory, such as a MAC address, serial number, make, model, etc. Um, and while I'm doing this, I could also add information about things that are missing from the asset details, such as a contact person. I could make some corrections here. If, for example, the printer name was incorrect, I could change that now too. As I move across here, what you'll see is these are the custom field columns, and I'll give those some names, such as lease company and lease contact, things of that nature. Um, so I would do that, and then I would manually enter in the information I wanted to enter. So I've already done that in another file, save us time here. So let's open up that. And we can see how that information can be constructed. So here again, we've got the inventory information, make, model, etc. Move across here. Now look at the custom fields and see we've got the lease company, the lease contact, the lease expiration date, and then there's the other two, which are integers here. This is the duration of the lease, and this is when you've got a lease buyout, the minimum number of months that are required before you can buy out the contract. So here we've got lease company name in this example. That's the company name. Um, and this is the contact person. If you look over at the lease expiration, you see this is the date format that's required. So that's month, date, and year. If you were doing this on a system maybe in Europe, machine in Europe that has a day, month, and year, then you would enter that format in. Okay, so now I've got all my data here. I could change it if I wanted to, but let's just go ahead and go to the next step, and that's the import step. So go back up to SiteAudit Viewer, and I'll go to Tools and over to the Asset tool. And now instead of exporting, I'm going to import file. Let's import that file. And depending on the size of your database and how much data you're importing, that may take varying degrees of time. So now let's just check and see if we've got that data. There it is. So you'll notice that we can move this around just like you could any other columns. If I was to right click on a device, go to its details tab, you'd find that there's that information that I could have entered manually. And now if I need to make some adjustments, I could make those adjustments. I could do the editing here if I wanted to. So that's all now good. And I might want to then run this as a report, say monthly, and it would give me an update on what leases are expiring. So let's run this as a schedule report. So I've already created a schedule report from this, and let's just go down here and look at the scheduled task, monthly lease. I'm going to right click and I'm going to run that. And that's basically taking the view file using the SiteAudit scheduler, and then I could set up on a time that I want that to run. Normally, I might run it at the end of the month or the beginning of the month. Come in as a depending on the format I want to use. That'll come in as a attachment here. Here I can see that report now. As it opens, we can see it should be the same information we had in that view. So here I've got the department, model, serial number, and other details that I wanted to know about. Most importantly would be the expiration date. So now what I've done is I've taken used custom fields in order to create a lease tracking application, and I've done that with the asset tool that comes standard with SiteAudit 7.